So, guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. So, guys, Keith Thurman slams Team Crawford. Keith Thurman says that um, Terence Crawford and his team are lying about the negotiations. He goes, I've never asked for $10 million to fight Terence Crawford. I never asked. He goes, I never asked for money. He goes, those things are negotiated. I don't know whether I believe Thurman, but he basically said that, Terence Crawford and his team paid Kell Brook $2 million, and he goes, when you pay someone $2 million, that's the kind of performance you get. Basically saying that Kell Brook's nothing, and when you pay people poor money, that's the kind of performances and that's the kind of fights that you get. Keith Thurman also said that, Crawford said that, I got 2.5 million to fight Pacquiao. He goes, I've never been paid 2 million ever since I started fighting for the PBC. So insinuating he's been paid a lot more than 2 million, and Crawford's talking a load of baloney. Now, I don't know where these sources were leaked, but I remember at the time people were saying that Thurman got 2.5 million for that fight, guaranteed purse. Now, he may have got a lot more on the back end, but the figures that we were released were 2.5 million. Now, I don't think he got paid 2.5 million. I think he probably got paid a lot more than that to fight Pacquiao. But those were probably his guaranteed purse. However, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and Thurman wasn't going to get the money no one's going to get the money that they all want at this point. Everyone's having to take a pay cut. Canelo's had to take a pay cut. All the best fighters had to take a pay cut. Crawford took a pay cut. Everyone's had to take a pay cut in this current times. And that fight could have easily been Thurman, but Thurman didn't want. Thurman wanted serious money. Now, what Thurman's basically saying, that if you want proper fights, then you've got to pay proper money. I agree there. I do think Thurman's obviously going to be a lot more expensive than Brook, because Brook hasn't earned, in my opinion, the money that Thurman's earned. I think Thurman's been in the more high profile fights than Kell Brook. Kell Brook's not been in as many. Yeah, he's been in Golovkin, Spence, and Crawford. But really, if you look at his, those are the three big fights. Yeah, Porter, but I don't know how much the fight Porter paid him. But Thurman's been in big fights. He's been in the Danny Garcia fight. He's been in the Manny Pacquiao fight. He fought Guerrero. And all of those fights in America at the time, Al Heyman was paying these guys a lot of money. So Thurman, for me, is going to want to be paid money. He's going to want to paid a lot of money. The problem is that Thurman, I don't think, brings a lot to the table. I think a Thurman Crawford fight would be a big fight for the hardcore boxing fans. It does nothing to the casuals. Thurman isn't that big a star like he thinks. He's not. If he's demanding serious amount of money, that fight's not going to do that great pay-per-view numbers. I'm pretty certain. It may do better, just a little bit better than Khan Crawford. Maybe he might not even do those numbers, because Khan's a way bigger known name than Thurman globally. Like, remember, Khan brought in the UK audience as well. Thurman has a US audience, and how big is Thurman in the US? Not very. I've seen Thurman's social media numbers. They're not very big, and they're not very. That shows that he's not very popular, or not very well known, I should say, in United States. Yeah, to the hardcore boxing fans, he's known, but he's not known to the casuals like that. And Thurman would be Crawford's toughest test by miles. Yeah, for sure, I agree with that. But the problem is with Thurman is that Thurman, I don't know whether he's realistic. I don't know whether he comes out and he whenever someone says something about him, he does come out and come out with a good story. But I just want to see Keith Thurman start fighting. Until Keith Thurman starts fighting regular like he was previously, it's hard to take the guy seriously, because we don't know whether he's lost to hunger. We don't know whether he's the same fighter. And most of us would pick Crawford to beat him. Even though I think Thurman's a dangerous fight for Crawford, and Thurman could win, but Crawford would be a favorite in that fight. But I do think Thurman needs to get that fight with Crawford on. He needs to get it on. He keeps saying send the contract. We need to see that fight. That's a great fight. I don't want to see Sean Porter and Terence Crawford. I want to see Keith Thurman, Terence Crawford. That's a great fight. That's a great fight. And a fight that I think is a lot better than Sean Porter, if I'm honest with you. I think Keith Thurman's a bigger puncher. I think Keith Thurman's a big welterweight. I think Keith Thurman's a better boxer than Porter. And Keith Thurman beat Sean Porter. Let's not forget, Keith Thurman's only loss came against Manny Pacquiao. There's no shame in that. His only loss came against Manny Pacquiao, and he did well in that fight, to be fair. He didn't get blown away. He did well. So for me, I think Keith Thurman Terence Crawford fight makes a lot of sense. And after that, if Crawford wins that fight, then there's no excuses for people saying Crawford's not fought anybody. I don't think anyone can make that excuse anymore after that fight. Because Thurman's still a top 5 welterweight for me. He's still a top 5 welterweight. You know, for me, Thurman, I think it's probably Crawford, Spence, Crawford, Pacquiao, Thurman, Porter. You know, I think that's probably the top 5 welterweights right now. So it's hard to knock Crawford for fighting probably the 4th best welterweight out there right now. So I personally think, if I'm honest with you, I think they should get that fight on. I think fight fans would love that fight. I think people would be excited for that fight. I think finally people would be excited that Crawford is getting in a ring with one of the top 5 welterweights. And it just makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense for Crawford and Thurman to fight, because I think Spence and Pacquiao might fight, might not. God knows what's happening there. And I don't think a Spence Crawford fight is going to happen right away next. So Thurman right now is free. Errol Spence has already said he's not going to fight Keith Thurman, right? If Errol Spence isn't going to fight Keith Thurman, then it leaves a space for Crawford to fight Keith Thurman. And Keith Thurman gets a shot at a world title again. If he beats Terence Crawford, he's back up there. So it makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Make the fight. Keith Thurman needs a fight. Needs to fight Terence Crawford. He needs to push that door down. You know, if you're Keith Thurman, you'll be pushing the door down for that Crawford fight. You'll be looking to shouting that Crawford fight out, because that fight could bring Keith Thurman back to the level that he was prior to the injury that he suffered after the Garcia defeat. A Garcia win, sorry, not defeat. Garcia win. Thurman could get back to that level with a win over Crawford just by winning against Crawford. Because Crawford's the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. That would be Thurman's biggest win to date by a country mile. Who's Keith Thurman's biggest win? Danny Garcia? Who's Keith Thurman's biggest win? Sean Porter? They're the 2 biggest names on his resume. Who else has he fought, really? Guerrero? Bundu? I don't really fought that many. Let's be real. You know, his 2 biggest wins are Porter and Danny Garcia. That's his 2 biggest wins. Crawford would be a way bigger name, a way bigger win than those 2 guys. If we're honest, way bigger. So, if I'm totally honest with you, that's the fight that I think we would love to see. I think it would show us how good Thurman is. It showed, Crawford, if Crawford can dominate one of the top 5 welterweights, it would be a great fight, man. It'd be a great fight. I want to see it. I want to see it. I really, really want to see that fight. But I don't know whether we're going to get it. I don't know whether we're going to get it, because is Keith Thurman going to be realistic? Where's Crawford's mind at? Is Crawford just want to fight Spence or Pacquiao? I don't know where Crawford's mind's at. But for me, that fight makes sense for both guys. Crawford gets a great name, a top 5 welterweight, and a chance to prove himself in the welterweight division. Keith Thurman gets a chance to get back to the top of the welterweight division by beating someone like Crawford. So it makes sense for both parties, if I'm totally honest with you. Now, in terms of the Porter fight, I know people are saying that, Sean Porter is Terence Crawford's mandatory. If I'm totally honest with you, I don't really want to see that fight. I don't think it's that exciting. Yeah, Porter might be a tough fight, etc. But I think Thurman's brings a lot more. I think Thurman's a big power puncher. I think Thurman's a better boxer. And I think Thurman's is a better fight for Crawford. That's the fight I would love Crawford to have, if I'm totally honest with you. I don't really want to see Crawford fight Sean Porter. I think if the Thurman fight can't be made, then I will take the Porter fight for sure. But the fact that Thurman is out there free, not got a fight, looking for a fight, calling out the big names, for me, Thurman is the fight that I want to see. Thurman is the fight that I think everybody would prefer to see over, the other names that we're being branded around. Because, like I said, I'm not a massive fan of Porter. I think Porter's a good fighter. He brings it all the time. But I think there's other guys and stiffer tests out there for Keith Thurman that we would rather a stiffer test for Crawford, like a Thurman. I personally think Ugas beat Sean Porter, if I'm totally honest with you. So, like I said to you, I want to see Terence Crawford fight Keith Thurman. I think that's a great fight. I think that's a fight that, we all would want to see. Keith Thurman may not get... I think if Keith Thurman wants an Errol Spence fight, he may have to beat someone like Terence Crawford to make himself relevant, because I don't think Errol Spence is going to look to fight Keith Thurman, just because I think he's holding a grudge against him. Because Keith Thurman didn't fight him when Errol Spence wanted that opportunity. So Keith Thurman might have to get himself in a position to get that Errol Spence fight. And the only way he can do that is by beating someone like a Pacquiao, or in a rematch, or beating someone like a Terence Crawford. Otherwise, I don't see him getting that fight. So personally, if I was Keith Thurman, I would jump for that Crawford fight, because if Keith Thurman believes in himself, it's a fight he can win. He'll get paid good money for having that fight with Crawford, and it's a chance for him beating one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world that would take him right to the top. So for me personally, I think it's a fight that Keith Thurman should take. I think he should take. I think he should look to break the door down for that fight, just because I think it's a monster fight. It's a huge name, and it's a chance for him to get his biggest win. But leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think, guys. Make sure to smash that like button. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.